This is part 3 of our Weight Weenie series. Dad's on the phone right now recording this. And today we are going to be replacing the handlebars and the stem. And I'll get a close-up of the weight right now. So far we've saved about 4 pounds, which is pretty good.
Alright, so we're at 27.6 pounds. And again, this is a pretty easy conversion. All we're doing is replacing the handlebar and the stem, and that's going to be nothing more than, again, a 5mm and a 6mm hex wrench. And it's going to be rather easy to replace. We'll be right back after we're done with that. And that starts off, we're going to take off these 2 bolts in the front. Nothing more than I believe a 6mm hex wrench. And then we need to take off, there's 2 bolts on the side, again, one here and one on the back side, and our top cap. If you can wiggle it off, you can wiggle it off, or again you can take your good old rubber mallet and just put a little pressure up on the top. Well, it looks like London's going to do the old hand. Yeah. And that's off. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to weigh all those parts real quick here. We're going to see how much of a weight savings we're going to have in grams, because the original stem put all the parts that are on there, London, including all the screws, all the washers, everything. I guess we can actually exclude the top cap, because we're actually going to be using that again in the other one, and then those 2 screws as well. So we're looking at 218 grams just for the stem. Now we want to weigh the new stem. So it's 154. It's not much of a weight savings, but 50 grams is 50 grams. And again, you can get, you can spend a lot of money on a stem. You can spend, a real cheap amount of money. But either way, the standard stem that comes with the Trek 3500 is a relatively heavy aluminum stem, and of course it has a very steep angle compared to this race face. So most people who race don't use that steep angle on pretty much off the stem now, but we still, of course, need to use the shifters, and so we need to take the shifters off. And basically what we're going to do, the grips will basically slide off. They're pretty hard, sometimes you just kind of really twist and pull. If you flip over the handlebars there, London, there's basically a 4mm right here, a 4mm hex bolt again that unclamps those from the handlebars. So we're gonna undo those, and when we come back, we will reassemble it.
First, we're gonna measure the old one. There we go.
At an angle here, just like that.
Okay.
So
it's measuring in at about 440 grams, which is about a pound. Yeah, it's kind of fluctuating. We'll measure the new one, which is a new carbon handlebar that we just got. And It's weighing in around 134 grams, which is a pretty big difference of about 300 grams. Not quite a pound, just about 3/4 of a pound.
Yeah, pretty close between the new stem and the handlebars are pretty much close to saving a pound. It's just probably just under a pound. So we're gonna throw those new handlebars onto the bike, and once we're done with that, we'll come back and do a total bike weight again.
What's it called?
Stem.
And we fixed everything together, put the gears back on in the grips, and if you look over here, it's now at 26 pounds and 9 ounces, which is, we lost about roughly 13 ounces there, which is not a pound, but still a good amount of weight to lose.
So again, as we're in part 3 of our series here, we really wanted to talk about just easy things to replace on our bikes. You know, these don't take a lot of tools, or I mean, it's pretty much just hex bolts, and you know, that's really easy. Basically, the only way we're going to lighten up this bike anymore now is to basically replace the rims. These rims combined come in roughly, they're the stock Bontrager, I can't remember what they are, AT 550 rims. They're not exactly the lightest things in the world. I think they're looking at, I think when I weighed them, with or without the skewers, I can't remember, it's close to 2,200 grams. You can buy some decent set of you know, for a couple $100, you can get around $1,900 for wheel set. If you want to pay, you know, $500-600, you can get down into the 1,600 gram range, and then you're talking about a wheel set that weighs less than 4 pounds. Then. The other major thing that weight-wise on this particular bike is the crankset. This crankset is basically, it doesn't use Shimano's Hollowtech. This is basically, you know, your base Shimano cranks and shifters and stuff. So, I mean, you're talking about a solid piece of aluminum there. You know, it's actually a Suntour crank. It's most likely not hollow. I'm assuming that thing probably weighs close to 3 pounds, I would bet. And you can buy, you know, some really nice cranksets. I should also mention that this particular crankset still uses the old square taper spindle. So basically, the crank arms are forced on onto a square taper spindle, pressed on, and then this bolt down here holds them on. But yeah, you can get some cranksets that weigh well under, you know, 2 pounds, and you can get them for 2 pounds for $150 if you really wanted to, and you could probably easily save another pound, maybe a pound and a half, depending on what the crankset is. We haven't taken this crankset off yet, so we really don't know what the weight is of it. But between wheels and crankset, and even these shifters weigh a ton. Just when we took them off, we probably should have weighed them, but man, you could just feel how much they weigh. They weigh a lot. They're a combined brake and shifter combination on these things. It's one solid piece. And you know, I mean, a lot of newer sets come like that, but usually the shifter is usually will clamp on or screw on to the bottom of the brake or something like that, or vice versa. This is one big solid piece, so you can't really just change out your brake lever or your shift levers on this particular bike because it is one solid piece. If you wanted to go with different brakes or a different shifter, you would have to replace both of them. So the only other thing, again, you know, you're looking at, you could probably buy You know, if you want to change to a different type of gearing or anything, you have to remember that this particular bike uses doesn't have it uses the old direct pull brakes, as you can see right here. It doesn't use disc brakes. So if you ever wanted to go to disc brakes on here, Trek actually sells an adapter that goes on right here. And then you also have to end up buying new wheels, because then you actually need wheels that accept the rotors for the disc brakes. And that might add some weight too, but you know, once you're going down to a lighter wheel, that kind of makes up for it. Definitely if you're buying better wheels, you're going to have a better hub, and it's probably lighter as well. Again, I'm sure this, even just that derailleur alone, it probably weighs more than, you know, a decent derailleur you could buy for $100, or even I think even $75 for, you can get an X9 derailleur once you start changing out gears and wheels and stuff. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the weight savings that we had on this bike. Overall, I mean, we were down to 26 pounds, 9 ounces. I can just go off the top of my head. The tires reach close to $45 a piece. I paid $162 for that fork. You know, what else did we do here? And I'm also including shipping and all this stuff too. It was $162 with shipping. I think the wheels, or I mean the tires with shipping, was actually $97 and stuff. And you know, you got to really shop around for stuff. This Easton carbon fork, it's an older model, but we actually picked that up for well under $50. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Easton makes a lot of good, really nice carbon handlebars. Again, with this stem, you know, you just got to shop around. There's so many bike shops online, and even you can, you know, if you really want to, you can buy stuff from China. They sell the same stuff for cheaper. It just takes you 2 months to get it in the mail. But overall, you know, this is about as far as we're going to go right now with our Weight Weenie series on this Trek 3500. We're still looking at seeing if we could replace the wheels and maybe the crankset. We're not sure yet. These were pretty cheap replacements, because once you get into wheels and cranksets, you're talking a lot of money. So you're looking at $200 for a cheap set of wheels, and then, you know, again, the crankset, and then if I replace the crankset, then I got to replace the cassette, and then I got to replace, you know, all kinds of other things that go along with that. So at this point, this is about really as far as we can go. London, are you satisfied with the weight of the bike now?
I am very satisfied with this.
So we went from close to a 32-pound bike, which I think it really was about 32 pounds when we first weighed it last year. It's down to 26.9. So we've saved well over 5 pounds, almost 5.5 pounds. That's a big weight savings when you're talking about, you know, we only spent a couple $100, about $350 I think total, give or take probably $10 or $20 there. I think I really have to add it up in my head, but that's not too bad. You know, a lot of people think, well, you could just buy a new bike, but you know, this bike cost roughly about $450, and we spent another $350. I think even for $800, you wouldn't get even still, you wouldn't even get a nice enough bike to where this bike is already. You know, you really almost need to spend about $1,500, $1,700 just to get a decent, you know, aluminum bike these days that has really nice components on it. I'm just not willing to spend that much money yet for a bike for him. So I hope you enjoyed these 3 videos. London, any final words? I know you don't say much. You're just the guy who stands there. Alrighty, well, hopefully we'll update you on how well London's done on his next race with all this weight savings. See you later.